I'm here with James Riley. A question I asked, I'm curious what you think about it. When you think about going from point A to point B, how often do you let yourself enjoy getting to B before thinking about point C?
I'd rather not say.
Okay. A short interview.
I'd rather not. So getting from point A to point B, how
transitioning from one place to another, like how often do you let yourself just enjoy that transition before thinking about that next step?
In my head, I'd like to say all the time, and it's great because I love the idea of that. But no, when I have something in my head, I just go for it, and I get very streamlined. And then when it's done, then I'll take that time. So probably not much at all in reality, which I don't think is necessarily a great way to go about it, but definitely how I do it.
So you're very much like
point A to
the
point
next.
B. Yeah, like what's the most efficient way I can do this in the most logical way, and once I'm there, we'll see what happens.
So when you get to that next point, are you able to like be in that next spot, or are you immediately thinking of that next step?
No, I can, because I definitely think what works for me doing it that way is then like reflecting and making sure that was kind of the best way to do it.
Right.
Like that's when I take my time to kind of let my brain wander. Can I do that better? Or was that, the best way to go about this before starting something new?
If a person/position is out, what do we lose in our ecosystem? Oh, I remember
So
that.
if someone's
question
not
now.
here.
Yeah. Okay, so this was something I've brought up to Noah of like an exercise that I'm curious about doing. Is listing out the different roles on a team or different positions on a team, and it kind of goes to the idea is that to better assess our the risks that we have, we need to be aware of all of the potentials, and so by being able to list out the different positions that we have and what each one does or brings to the team, then when that person's out, we can then better handle any situations that happen from that person not being there. And so I don't think that's really a question.
No.
I mean, it's a question, but I think it's much more better as an activity than anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing, though, because that has me thinking it's something I need to do more of in our risk assessment that I haven't thought enough about. That I kind of realized that recently. Like, we had our front engineer is out on PTO most of last week and most of this week, and we were, like, getting to the point where something was about to release, and kind of last minute we figured out it wasn't a big deal, it wasn't anything major, but it's like I need to start identifying that idea, like bring that up in those planning, like meetings when we're kicking something off. I think would be a sensible point, because how long is this going to take? Cool. Is everyone going to be here? If you're not, who's your backup? Type of thing. Yeah, it's not something in my brain that I think of enough that I definitely need to more. And I can just engineer like anyone working on it, me myself. If I'm not going to be here, I think it's a really important thing that is really easy to overlook and can derail everything very quickly. So that's been on top of my mind kind of recently. As we start thinking more risk orientated, which I really like.
Yeah.
Ideally, I'd rather draw this on the board if that. I had 2 jokes planned for this podcast. That was the second one.
Very visual things, and
I should have let it sit a little longer, but get it, because you couldn't see it on it's audio. It's gonna.
I get it.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, you're more than welcome to. I'll try to describe what you're drawing.
We'll get there later. We'll do that. The back half.
Maybe episode 2.
Yeah.
I mean, for us, switching to that risk-oriented vision, it's definitely going to bring up a lot of new questions because we're going to have to go through all of this with our teams, because I mean, they're the people that we're working with day by day, and so to be able to fully assess our risks, we have to have as much information as we can. And so by breaking down, I mean, at least for me, the more I can break something down, the better overall view I can have of the thing, which is probably partly how I, handle my testing, or everything I do. I try to break them down into the small components, and so like figuring out, like this person, when we lose them, how do we continue to maintain our effectiveness or efficiency, because there is going to be some sort of loss. If a front-end developer is out, you can't normally develop as quickly. If a back-end developer is out, you then can't get whatever the front-end needs up, or whatever whatever the platform developer might be working on is, then that there's going to be some sort of speed hindrance. There's going to be, if like the PM is out, like how do we account for a PM being out? Like if they're going to be the one that is dictating where we are in the project and how much further we have to go, like how do we then build up a redundancy so that when that happens we can continue to move forward.
My plan is just to take on any role. If the front engineer is out, I'm going to hop in there, I'm going to push code.
Just start
PM is out, I'm going to fill out documents, I'm going to get people going, I'm going to release stuff.
Yeah.
If I'm out, I'm not going to do anything.
You're going to be in.
Yeah, I'm going to come in.
Filling up your own role yourself.
I'm gonna put on a different t-shirt, I'm still going to come in. One thing that I was thinking about kind of when you started that too, which kind of circled back what I was saying about like planning on something not being there, like that's almost too easy. Like you should have a plan in case someone's not there. Like, hey, is anyone on PTO? We'll be great. Like that's not a great way to do it either. I think that comes into like defining all the risks, which I like thinking of all that. Like I want to start thinking about that, think over it with the team. I want to have, and there's that template that we kind of already have to work off of, which has got some great starting points, but like a list of like known risks to start with. I think it's a really efficient way, and then you got to come up with new stuff as you go per project, sure. But I would like to like get really good at knowing them and defining them, so everyone's just like right off the top of your head. It become part of the culture, I think, would be ideal.
There's a book that I read somewhat recently, and by read I mean listened to, called Peak Performance, and like one of the things that they talk about is that Olympic athletes are like, they go through they think about like all the things that could happen when they're about to do whatever activity, and so they build up that reflex, or that like automatic response of like I think the example they give was like Michael Phelps swimming, and his like goggles filled up with water, and so he's then having to do whatever blind, but he's already gone through all of these mental exercises. Put yourself in that zone where like no matter what, I'm going to be doing this thing. I know what I need to do, how I need to do it. It's going to happen, and like just having that automatic response.
You just got to go straight. It's not hard.
Go straight and then turn around and go back.
Sometimes.
Yeah. What is it, a kick flip or something?
Yeah, sure. I think a lot of that kind of comes down to almost a good idea of like, it's muscle memory for him too, right? So he's comfortable in that. The more we do this stuff, the more you build it and ingrain it into the culture, kind of back to what I was saying before. it just becomes like something comes up and you're like, oh, we've thought about that, or we've done that, or we have a plan for that. I think that's like ideal. That's where I'd want to be as a team. And then I could just stay at home and everything just works. I mean, no.
Just put up a picture of yourself and just to remind people you're there.
Yeah, do the thing. It'll be on a repeat.
Is there anything that you would like to talk about?
Yeah. How did you get into? I know the game testing. How did you make that? I find the video game testing world just fascinating because I've always played video games. That's why I was asking many questions. And I just thought it just seems like the craziest. Like I don't get how they ever get made. How did you make that transition from gaming? And were you here after gaming, or did you do something? Yeah. How did that all go?
So for me, back in 2006, maybe 2007, I at some point had a conversation with my brother, who was a game tester, and he said that I wouldn't like it, and then I said I would probably like it.
It's a pretty deep conversation to have with a human being.
Well, I think there was a little bit of a defiant...
Yeah. You're not my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how I probably felt, is like...
How old are you?
18?
Yeah, as you do when you're 18. 100%.
So, yeah, there was a little bit of like, I could probably do that.
Yeah.
So then I interviewed at Nintendo and didn't hear anything back, and then interviewed again through another company, and then was brought into their orientation where they have you sit through, well, I mean, this was back in 2007, but they essentially sit you down and have you watch a video, and the video has like a few different games, and then for each one you like write down the issues you see with it, and then at the end of the video they then go through and say, okay, for this one, what all did you see? And then we would, say what we saw, and like I think one of them was like, I think that there were two that were relatively difficult. One of them was the which you would only get if you like had recently played a Nintendo 64 game.
Mm-hmm.
But the logo for the N64 at the beginning, it would like rotate around, and it was rotating the wrong way. And I don't think anybody got that one.
Was this a group setting?
Yeah.
So you want to go last, so you can be like, well, I noticed.
Well, I mean, we were in a group, and then they basically had us sit through that, answer some questions, and then they were like, okay, well, like, who wants to do this? And then I think a few people left, and then I was like, yeah, I'm interested. And
as soon as they were like that, the logo was spinning, you're like, I'm out of here. It's stupid.
One of the other ones was, I think, Diddy Kong Racing. The sound of the hovercraft vehicle was using the sound of like the car, so it was like wheels screeching as it was like doing like a drift.
Can't have that.
Yeah, so I don't know, it was pretty interesting.
He was eating pineapples instead of bananas. This is crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, that kind of got me into it, and then I continued doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I was at Nintendo, then Microsoft, and then Warner Brothers, and then at a smaller like flash game company for a little bit.
How different is that?
Flash games?
Like a smaller studio.
I mean, they all end up being very similar.
It's kind of a bummer.
Well, I mean, it's similar in the sense of like there's like a way that it's done,
Mm-hmm.
and they all kind of do it the same way. It's just whether or not they have a lot of money or a little bit of money, or
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of testers or a few testers.
Do you think there's room now? I'm just turning this into me interviewing you.
That's fine.
Do you think there's room for someone to come in and just change how that whole thing's done and do it better? Or is it just like, this is the best way to do this and it's not going to ever change?
I mean, it would... If...
Like something like how Agile came in and took over like Waterfall in a really high level like software engineering way. Where it just literally like, whoa, that's different.
It's... At a smaller company, it would probably be easy to do those types of things, but that's pretty common for anywhere.
Yeah, and I imagine like when it's small, there's a lot of people wearing multiple hats and doing that. But yeah, I'm saying like on that massive scale. It just seems so highly inefficient as we talked about, and I get why, but...
Yeah, it is. But in terms of like making changes, you would probably have to come in at like a high level where you would have the influence to be able to do it, because it's very, what is it, hierarchical?
Yeah, that's what, and it seems like such an old, entrenched.
Oh yeah.
As weird as to say video games are old, but yeah, it is very much that. Like,
it's very set in stone.
Top down, yeah.
Old style of like, you know, you have your manager, and then the manager does this stuff, you do this stuff. And
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It just seems like a very dated way to do something so modern.
Yeah, I mean it's and I mean I've been out of games for 7 years, so it's been quite a while. Things could have changed.
From what I hear, no. Everything you're saying is what I hear and read. And
okay. Well, then, yeah, it's probably still the same.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, and that's probably partly because, you know, it's big companies. And making changes at big companies is hard.
Is there any... It sounded like, I mean, I know there are some tools, but, like, is there room for automation to take over most of that testing and speed that process up and make it more efficient? Or is this just not feasible in, like, an open-world game? I could see how it would be, like, doing that right, you could just cover so much more ground.
There is... I would expect there to be a lot of automation that's utilized, especially for, like, open-world games. Because... they're just so big that it's not possible for...
You can't test everything, right?
You'd have to hire way too many people to be able to do the same job as... I know a lot of like multiplayer games will utilize automation and have, you know, set up different matches of like different configurations of like people against each other. Fighting games also have that. I think there was a story I heard of like I don't remember what game it was, but there was a game that had AI to play against other AI.
The movie?
No. Games. What?
It's a Spielberg movie.
No, I know.
I was confused.
The
I just sidetracked you so bad.
The AI in the game would play against either players or other AI, and I think they then ended up like taking that and turning it into, or using that as like bots, so that you could play bot matches. But I don't remember what game that was. I'm pretty sure that was somewhat recent that I heard that. I don't know, but there is a lot of like automation and AI and other things that is utilized to fill in those gaps. I'm sure there's probably better ways that it could be done, or more intense ways of doing it. But yeah, I mean, it's...
Well, and I guess it kind of runs into the problem of maybe they find all these bugs, but you only have enough time to fix so many. So at the same point, like, all right, we get it, automation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bugs. It's crazy.
Possible. But yeah, games are only going to get bigger.
Right, they are. And it's just like, What blows my mind too is the detail, like the art that goes into it.
Mhm.
Just like creating all these textures. It blows my mind. The more realistic everything gets, the higher the resolutions. Like at some point, I don't know, you're gonna hit a wall where it's just gonna take too long.
Yeah, I mean that's why AAA companies can, spend the money they do, have hundreds of artists doing animations and levels and concept art and like everything that they need. They just hire bulk.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is some recent videos of talks that I've watched of like people talking about how they're utilizing artificial intelligence built into these different programs to develop art assets faster by doing different configurations of things. I mean, there's some level of like having to train it, but like that's one way that they're able to like
Build a
mitigate the
forest.
cost and I mean there's all sorts of tricks and tools that have been developed over time, and there's only going to be more of those. And I mean there are changes being made, but it's in terms of like the way quality is done, I don't think there have been as many changes. I think it's probably suffered more, but they're also working with typically they have some sort of deadline that they have to reach, and so like if they have had a difficult time in the development process and are now at whatever stage they're at, but near the end of that cycle, it's really hard for them to say let's push it back.
Yeah, it seems to be getting a little more accepted because of all the people complaining about crunch and that becoming a known thing.
Yep.
But yeah, still a lot of companies. Yeah, kind of a mess. Have you ever thought about what if the world, your life now is a video game and someone is playing it?
Have I ever thought about that?
Yeah, you ever just wonder if this is all a game? And some people choose
like
in a game to be a game tester.
Is that like the simulation theory stuff?
I don't know what that is. I was just
Simulation
asking if
theory?
you ever thought if this was a game.
If life itself was a game? I mean, that's
Yeah,
kind
we're
of
in a
what
game now.
the simulation theory is.
Sounds like it.
Is we're in a simulation.
Yeah. And then in our game, there's many games
Sure.
and older games.
I mean, that is a thought.
And then what if this is like the first gen of that game and this is a shitty version and there's a way better one?
We want to get to version 2.
Right?
How do we get to version 2?
How is this better? What did you see version 2? Fuck.
Big Bang 1.0.
There's like more colors.
Yeah.
There's people who can fly.
Twice the colors.
Yeah.
3 times the speed.
Yep. Something to think about is all I'm saying.
It's probably not a thought. Wait, it's probably a thought I've had before. Or something similar.
Similar, yeah. I don't think anyone's like, this is specifically a video game.
Right now.
Yeah.
It wasn't before, now it is.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
it's a game.
Pretty boring game.
I don't think so. People play simulator games all the time. They get away from their day-to-day to then play a game that's their day-to-day.
Yeah, but they're usually like driving a truck or something, not
I mean, that's one.
testing games.
I mean,
Or-
there have been times that I've done that in my free time.
Well, I'm saying if I'm being controlled by someone, they're not a very interesting person.
They have not made very good choices.
Yeah, they could do better.
But is
it's
that
it's a
you?
sandbox. Come
But is
on.
but is that you saying that?
I don't know. This is my thought. This is what I'm saying.
Or the player?
It's a big MMO.
Although I guess that can then get into some crazy conversations about consciousness. And
Yes.
whatever.
Let's go there.
I don't have the expertise to go there.
Yeah. You don't, after a day of work, you don't feel like just digging down into that too?
Well,
anywho.
I would if I had the right person to go down that rabbit hole.
With? Oh, that hurts.
Yeah.
You just said, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not the right person.
That's not what I was saying.
We'll play back that tape.
Can we play that back, please?
There's still tapes in this video game world.
Let's see.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
Do you like cheese?
Cheese?
Yeah.
Not by itself.
Whoa. I thought you were going to say yes and we're going to move on.
No.
How do you not like cheese?
Not
What's
by
wrong
itself.
with cheese? What do you mean not by itself?
I don't typically want to just eat like cheese by itself.
Have you ever had good cheese?
I
I mean good cheese,
probably
like
not.
Wisconsin cheese. Like some crazy cheddar. I did have 24-year aged cheddar.
Oh.
It's very weird.
Very funky.
Yeah, pretty funky. It's it's very flaky. It like falls apart as it should when you try to cut it, and it just kind of melts in your mouth. And it's interesting. It's not as sharp as I thought it would be. Wouldn't want a lot of it, but you should try it at some point. And it's a cheese you would want to eat alone because that on a sandwich would be terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Not even like a pepper jack. You know, like snacking a little pepper jack.
not by itself. I like pepper jack on sandwiches.
Cheddar cheese cubes. You know.
Maybe with meat. Dip it in.
Dip it in meat. Dip the cheese in meat.
You know, the meat version of fondue. Liquid meat. You dip other things in that.
Fair.
Yeah,
Next time I'm up in Wisconsin, I'm gonna bring back an assortment of delicious, silly cheeses.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, oh, those are good by themselves.
Have a QA
like-
cheese tasty.
That'd be great. And I do like some fancier cheeses. That's gonna be fun too.
I
Pair with something, but
I saw a video of camembert cheese,
it sounds like one that's too much for me.
and it looks really gooey.
Oh, is that the stuff they have at like Kringle Market? It smells like old socks. They melt and they like scrape it off.
No. I think that's different. I don't know. I just saw the video of it. It kind of made me want to eat it, but
Gooey? See, that doesn't make me. That makes me go. Oh.
gooey cheese?
Yeah. Like
Really?
if it's not heated up, if it's just gooey by itself,
Yeah. I think it has a high moisture content.
that's bizarre to me. No.
Well, I think the younger ones are firmer than the ones that have been able to sit longer. I don't know. It just looked.
You know, cheddar is white and then it's only dyed orange.
I believe that.
And they started doing that. I don't remember why, but everyone just relates it to that, so they keep doing it. And white cheddar is called out as the weird one, and that's just cheddar. This is the video game world we live in. Everything is wrong.
I mean that makes sense. I guess. Well, I mean we can talk about your
Ascent?
your ascent, descent,
Ooh.
or ascent.
Ascent.
Your rising to power.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's.
What were you gonna say?
No, that's kind of where I was going. I don't know the format of this. I'm just making it up.
That's the best part.
The idea of why I would like ask somebody about like their where they came from, where they are now.
I asked you.
is I mean the idea is to like not build up a
Murder profile?
Yeah. No, to not build up a like an expectation of like if you start off with like, oh, I've been in the field for 2 years or 8 years or like whatever, like there's already an association built up with that. So the idea is to start off conversations and then finish off with I'm this person.
I think it makes sense. I'm always like kind of fascinated, and especially in QA, how people got there too.
Yeah.
So I always kind of like that idea because it isn't Like I love it as a career, but it's not something most people go, I'm going to be QA when I grow up.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't say that. Like, when you're in high school, that's not what you do. Most people, at least. I know there's probably someone, actually, I wanted to be. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't think it's really a field that is really talked about at all.
It's true. And I feel more now it's becoming not this, but I feel it's thought about, or has been thought about, and has been talked about as, oh, you do that just to become an engineer. You don't. It's not a career. And I feel that is changing and has changed as like people realize no, it is a career, and we need more people who treat it as that for it to be more than just like this thing that has to be there and no one likes.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something that's come up before is what is the QA doing something other than work that other people don't want to do?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
What it was, and I mean that's the whole like proving your worth is like what if we get rid of you, what happens?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you providing to the team that is why we should keep having more QA?
Yeah, I'd sleep in for a few days.
Yeah,
more often.
If
they got rid of me, I would sleep in more.
Just I might for a few days.
Yeah.
Probably be like, well, I should probably do something.
Maybe, I don't know. We'll get
there.
I
mean, you're not really. I mean, just growing up, you don't really learn about like the different types of jobs.
No, the real
of, like,
jobs, right?
Root jobs of like, policeman, fireman, government,
astronaut, like just silly ones too. Like, it'd be great to be an astronaut. I don't got that kind of time.
But like nowadays, and even however many years ago, like, the job is you doing something and getting paid for it. So it can be anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, some sort of, what were they? In like the, 50s, they were like, they would take like aptitude tests for like.
The career pyramid.
Yeah, like, what career best suits you with the answers you provided?
And they were horribly skewed based on gender. And miserable things that,
so it's like, you don't really learn that. It's a lot more of just like your maths and your sciences, but never really like, or except for like trade skills.
Yeah,
like there is a little bit of that where it's like, oh, you could be a welder or a mechanic.
I mean, I 100% feel like a software engineer, developer should be treated more like a trade. And I know people like frown upon boot camps and stuff. I feel like that type of schooling should be cultivated and should be the way to do it for most people. Most people who are engineers aren't using most of that CS degree. A lot of people are, but a lot of people, the type of coding they're doing and the role they want, there's no reason to not treat it like a trade where you're just really digging heavily into that and doing that. And a lot of people do that, and they're very successful. And then it's kind of that weird, some people frown upon it and like, oh, this and that, you just went to a boot camp. It's like anything. I mean, what you put into it too is what you're going to get out, how you're going to be. But yeah, I definitely feel like it should be almost considered like a modern trade, but
sure.
Nobody wants to put it that way and have it that way just because of connotations with what it is, and so that's below what it is type of thing, which I find sad because I think trade work is still very important. So I don't know. I find it interesting in that regard, and almost we're going to have to get to that point because that's where the jobs are going to be.
Right. No, I agree. I don't think I've ever really had the right connections take my brain down that path, but I mean, it makes sense to have that as a trade skill because it's very similar. I mean, you're may not be doing something physical, but you're still doing similar things. You're creating something, maintaining something.
Yeah, it's a very specific skill, which is what trades are.
Yeah.
Like you're a master at this specific skill. Which is a lot of them were manual stuff because that was the work. But now like it's a very specific skill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you? Would you? Let's see. Would you like to see more singular focused things, or
As far
broader
as
focused?
like concerning.
Like professionally?
Yeah, I mean, I'm someone who likes to do a lot of different things, likes wearing many hats. But in general, no, I don't know. I think that's hard to say. I couldn't answer. Probably not. I guess. I guess I feel there's a time and place for it, which is just a non-answer. Like when you're a smaller company, you have to do more, right? The bigger you get, you have to get more specialized. I think that makes sense. That should probably still be the way, to a point. Yeah. So I'm just going to kind of not answer that by saying a lot of words.
Well, I mean, you didn't not answer it. You gave an answer to it.
I gave an answer adjace, as they say.
You answered around the corner of it.
Yes. Right around it.
So we can start off with like where did you?
My first job was at Kmart when I was 15.
Uh-huh.
I worked there. I got training for 3 days. They didn't put me on a schedule for a month. I don't know why. I went in, they're like, oh, you'll be on the next one. And then they put me on my own register during Christmas. I worked 1 day, and it was miserable because I had no clue what I was doing. And the next day I went in and said, I'm quitting. Well, actually, the next day I went to McDonald's right by me, and I got a job that day. Because I knew one of the managers there, and I'm like, hey, I want to work here. She was like, all right. And I went to Kmart, and I was like, I'm quitting. And they're like, it'd be nice if you gave 2 weeks. And I was like, it'd be nice if you put me on the schedule. Which is like the only... I am not that person, but I was not, and I left. So that was my first job. And I was at McDonald's then for 5 years, so I wasn't a shitty person. And then, I'm now going to break down I've had many jobs. I won't keep going on that. I'd say the job why I'm here is because of Groupon. I don't have a degree. I didn't go to college. So probably one of the few people here. Yeah, there aren't too many who don't have degrees here. But I think that's one of the cooler things about the field that we're in and the companies we work for. That's like, if you can do the job, that's what matters. And I was at a textbook warehouse, drove a forklift, ripped my toe off, did inventory stuff there, and it was just miserable. And it was like, before that I worked at Best Buy, and I did Geek Squad and drove around the bug. I've always just been into computers, taught myself how to code a long time ago. And one day I was like, what am I doing? I have all this computer knowledge. I ran my own business fixing them for a while. What am I doing sweating my ass off in this warehouse? Just miserable. Yeah. And then, I started looking for jobs. I got a job at Groupon doing support work for Breadcrumb, which is an iPad POS system, which is horribly broken. It was miserable. And it was like a startup within Groupon, and that place is just this big crazy place where things get lost, and we got lost very much. We were on our own little island, which did mean I just kind of like, at one point I was like, okay, I hate talking to these restaurant owners on the phone because I was doing phone support and just getting yelled at, just screamed at. It was miserable. And especially when you're like, they're right because our app just didn't work. And they were sold a pile of garbage and lies. So I was like, I need to get off these phones and I need to do something else. And we didn't have any like level 2 support. So I just kind of started doing that, working with them and escalating JIRAs, and took myself off phones and pretty much just built my own role. So they offered me a job in my new role. And that was great. And then from there I was like, cool, I need to do everything I can to get as much experience as I can here. So I was working like 60 hours a week. But I pretty much took on the role of PM. I built a QA, not software, but QA, like quality assurance for phone calls. I built that process. I did just a ton of stuff. I trained people, ran like all our meetings. The manager we had didn't do much.
And that was at Groupon.
Yeah, it's at Groupon. So I always say, like, I probably got like 5 years worth of experience in a year and a half there.
Mm-hmm.
It was nuts. Like, I was very burnt out in a bad place when I left. But I was in my day off training people because the training they'd received was so bad. I felt bad for them. I heard them on the phone. I'm like, what are you doing? So I came on my day off to train these people, and they fired me. They didn't fire me. They laid off like more than half the team because they were getting rid of Breadcrumb. And I found out if I didn't come in, they would have just sent me an email and said, you got to bring your laptop in. And it sucked because like they escorted me out with security, like after they talked to me, and I just had to like pack my stuff up right away. I couldn't say bye to anyone. Like, oh, this is classy. And then that's when I came here. One of the guys I worked with there was like, hey, I'm at Sprout and we need another, we're hiring, and it was level 1. And I was like, went through this crisis of, do I want to go back to doing level 1 work? But I kind of knew I had to. The thing about level 2 support, it's not, everyone defines it differently. A lot of it's internal. Like it's really hard to just look and find a escalated support job. It's not a real thing. See, I came here, did level 1 work, and told them I want to do level 2 in my interview. And yeah, ended up getting the job, did that for a year, got up to level 2. And then my thing that I thought of when I was at Groupon was this escalated support work. The next step makes sense, I think, would be QA. And I never had the chance. And then I talked to James Basco here, and he's like, that makes sense. I'll put you in touch with Noah. And then met with Noah once a week for like a year, just going over stuff, learning what QA is. He gave me stuff to do, projects. And then I was told, it was funny, I was told one day from Dave, who was my manager, he's like, oh, we know you're doing this QA stuff. They let me know, like, there's nothing open. It's not going to be probably till next year. Just based on how things are, blah, blah, blah. So you know that? I'm like, yeah, I have no expectation of getting this any point.
Right.
Soon. And then literally 3 days later, he's like, oh, hey, I need to talk to you. Do you want that role right now? So it literally came down to, which is what I tell a lot of people, like, I live my life this way. Put yourself in the position for when something comes up, you're ready for it. I think it's just the most important thing, and that was it. I just got it because they knew that I had been doing this work with Noah. Dave was awesome championing me. He let everyone know. Everyone here knew that it's something I wanted and I was ready for it. So they were just like, cool, this is it. If I didn't, I don't know. Like, and like, no one, I didn't use, like, Grow at Sprout's a great thing. Stuff like that's great, but I think people think you go to like one of those meetings and then, cool, now where's my raise? Yeah. Like, that's not how it works. No one, like, I had to do all that on my own, like, reach out to someone, set up the thing, like, talk to Noah, and it was awesome that he was willing to help. But yeah, like, you need to create those opportunities yourself and then get that in, and I did double work for a long time. I was still doing all my support work. When I was on QA, there was 2 months where I worked downstairs and the second half of the day up here. I was still, like, you gotta be willing to do a lot of extra work sometimes, but like, they were taking a chance on me, so I respected that. And then now I'm here, and I just kind of give up on work. So this is it. I've hit that point where I'm good. So that's my final piece of advice. Once you get to where you're happy, just quit. Stop it. And that's my crazy QA path. So a lot of it is self-taught and taught from other people and reading and put in the work. It'll come.
I mean, that's pretty much what I've been doing. I mean, I don't have any classical training in anything. I mean, I went to a community college and got a certificate in desktop support.
Okay.
So that doesn't really do anything.
I went, I did, at some point I got like half of my, I think A+ or one of those. I got like one level of that. I just went and like read a book, took the test, and got like, because there's multiple levels. It was like the lowest one, and then you can qualify for it wasn't quite A+, it was like below that, and I passed and I got that. I'm like, I don't know what that did, but it cost me money. I'm not going to keep doing this. And I don't even put it like on a resume or anything. Like, it was just something I was like, I don't really want to go through this process.
I don't think I ever really found a right school environment that worked for me
Oh,
because
I
I've never really liked homework.
Mhm.
I would much rather just like do the work in school, and like I mean now looking back, I wish that we did more work in like applying whatever we're learning to something.
Mm-hmm. Like a project.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like more projects where you're utilizing those skills.
Yeah, it all seems so pointless. I did a year at a college at DuPage, community college, and I didn't even make the full year. And yeah, it was just miserable. It felt like high school. Like I was paying for this, and there's people like joking around, talking and stuff. Like, what are you doing? I'm learning about nothing I care about. It was just like, it just felt like such a pointless waste of time. And that's when I don't remember, like, I didn't even really know what I wanted to major in. I'm like, whatever, what am I doing here? I was just like throwing money away. Yeah, it bugged me. That's when I just started getting books and like teaching myself coding. I'm like, yeah, I wish I could just do this. But I couldn't even like get to the point to do that. Yeah, and that was before like boot camps or anything were a thing. But if those were, I would have done that 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still figuring out what I want.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I enjoy what I do, but there's still a part of me that feels like it's not exactly what I want.
Gonna be an astronaut?
Yeah.
We'll make that happen.
Space QA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get that. I mean, you shouldn't, like, there's nothing wrong with not being complacent. Like, I definitely, like, I'm older, and I feel like this is like a career change I made when I went from support to QA.
Yeah.
Like, literally, it was like starting a whole new career, a new job. And it's something, I see just pursuing as far as I can. This will probably be my career from here on out, and just getting more and more into it. And I like that, like, it's just still so much new for me to learn, so I'm totally down with that. I think it's cool. Just it fits what I like thinking rather logically, and I wouldn't want to, like, and I like the automation part. I like coding. I'm not by any means very good at it. Like, I'm good enough to do what we do. Still learning a ton there. I don't think I would want to be just an engineer all day. And have everything I do revolve around code. I like the aspects that we have. Manual, coaching, teaching, learning. Like, I really like what QA offers as far as like day-to-day work. And that was always the thing that, like, there's nowhere that really tells you that. For the longest time I knew I wanted to start getting into QA. Search like QA class or anything online. It's just the most bungled mess of shit you get. You get some stuff about Selenium that makes no sense. You get a lot of these like talking heads who are just talking super philosophically. You're like, cool, but I just want to know what I do for the job. I just never even knew like what QA does every day. So that was like the first thing like meeting with Noah. Like, what do you do? So it is like you almost have to, like, to get into it, you have to find someone though.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing I would tell someone is like, find someone who does it and who's willing, and I think most people would be if you're interested. Willing to talk to you and just like walk you through what they do.
And do you think when you had those conversations, did that just like reinforce everything that you felt about wanting to do it?
Yeah, reinforced kind of. I still didn't really quite get what the role entailed fully, but it reinforced, I can do all this. A lot of this stuff I already do. It's just taking it to another level. Like doing it earlier and doing that. And that's why, like, I was given a 30, 60, 90-day plan to transition over. And Mike Good, who's my mentor, who like just crushed it on that. Very lucky to be working with him too, because he like kind of got like, it started off very, this is QA, and then we were talking. He's like, you know a lot of this stuff. We got through that thing in like 3 weeks, maybe 2. So yeah, it didn't quite take the 90 days. Yeah. And a lot of that was like, it was stuff for like literally written for someone just coming into the company. Like, being here, working here, especially doing level 2, I know way more of this than they thought, which is really cool and fun to see. And they're like, this is cool. I'm like, yes. Eventually I wanted, and I think there was talk of it like maybe being discussed, that being a career band. here to go from level 2 to that. Because right now it's like if you're on level 2 in support, like all the support roles, especially level 2, which is more technical, like the only career band is you to be a manager. I tried doing that stuff. I don't like managing people. I wanted to go a more technical route, so that's why I did that. So yeah, it would be really cool knowing that like other people can do that if they want.
Yeah.
So that would be I don't know, it'd be really neat. I feel good about that.
That kind of raises like 3 different questions.
What is a career band?
No.
Who are you?
Like, in your personal opinion, do you feel that going from support level 2 to QA, because you started as a QA associate, like the very beginning QA, do you feel that's a step up or a step sideways? Like, does that feel like
it's definitely
the next
step up.
path?
It does. Definitely a step up, but not a very, it's like a very logical, easy step. It wasn't like I felt like overwhelmed. It was a step that made sense, and I was very happy they were willing to like move me out of associate when it made sense, because I was checking all those boxes in the career band, and it wasn't this like, this is the thing I'll say about this company, they're good in that regard. If you like, you gotta be very proactive in a lot of things.
Sure.
And if you are, they will recognize that. They did, which was cool, so that felt good.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, it was, to me, it was definitely a step up, because you get to dive deeper into things, you get to see how these processes work, which you only kind of knew about. And then you do get to actually get into the technical side where you are pushing up code, which you don't do over there. Yeah, no, it felt way more natural even than I thought it would, which was awesome. And I think, like I said, just based on that, I know everyone else, like, how long that plan was and what everyone kind of thought, like, yeah, it was more natural. And I did have, like, the coding background a bit. I had never really done it much in a professional way, but that definitely helped, because, like, me and Mike started talking about automation, and he starts like going into like, this is object oriented like programming, like the highest level, you know. I'm like, I get that, and I like kind of went over. I'm like, I get all this, like I know all this. I've just never done this in an actual right, like 'cause it's so different. I've never had anything to work on to do it. So we just pulled open the code and we started doing stuff. He's like, oh yeah, you know how to do this stuff. I'm like, yeah, but I just don't know how to apply it. And then we just jumped forward, which is why I say, like, I was super lucky to have someone like him who recognized that and didn't go, nope, we have to go through this. So I got lucky in a lot of ways that we just got good people who work here. Yeah. But yeah, so it was really natural for me, and I think that was their one thing. I think Noah had mentioned it to me at one point about it being like a career band. Like, they want to make sure it wasn't just me, like, being really well suited for it, and it makes sense. And I still do firmly believe it makes sense for the right person. If someone had no coding background at all, it would be a longer process for that automation stuff. Doesn't mean it can't be done. I did on my own too. I forgot, I took like a refresher course. And again, I was like, oh, I'll do a course thing. And it ended up being like, it was for C#. It was someplace in downtown, something like that. And just ended up being like, it was pretty pointless. I'm like, this is why I don't do these things. It was just so high level. We didn't get into anything. I was like, I could have just, and the guy's just reading out of the book. I'm like, cool, I paid money to hear you read out of this book. Yeah. So those, like, unless you're actually in like the boot camp or something like that, yeah, just do Code Academy. Like, I still have I have Code Academy Pro now, and I still go through it all the time. There's so many great free or fairly cheap resources to just keep building on. No reason not to.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean that
or it's Code Academy, by the way.
Code Academy.
I always say Code Academy, but it's Code Academy.
Code Academy.
Yeah. I think. Pull it up.
It doesn't matter. Right?
It matters. The viewers are gonna. I'm gonna get shit on.
One of the other questions I had was there any downside from coming from level 2 support into the QA role? Was there like something that was just so different that you ended up having problems with it, or was it
mostly the smell?
Yeah.
The QA smell.
Yeah, I mean there is
There
a smell. It's like
I can't even with that one.
an aroma.
Right. No, there wasn't anything for me. Like I said, maybe some of the more technical side, like using GitHub and stuff like that, would be like overwhelming for people at first. Like knowing that side, because the rest of it really does slot in really easy. Like we're already aware of all the squads, tribes. I know, like, and I still have all this rapport with all these PMs, which works out great. Like there's engineers on my team who don't know certain other people on other teams. So what are you talking about? Let's go over and talk to them. Like and sometimes it's just really nice having that rapport because you need to ask questions or ask a favor for someone, and having that with them just makes that so much easier. Or knowing who to go to, and I like have that with the entire company for engineering side because we worked with everybody all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, all that stuff was just like super natural, and I feel I had to head up on some people because of that. So besides the QA smell, we're good.
I mean, you get used to it.
Yeah, I've embodied it now.
So you've been at Sprout for 5 years, 4 years, 3 years?
I'm just gonna let you keep going.
2.
Well, I have the coveted.
Right, so it's at least
Gotta be at least 3. It was 4 years, October 5th.
Okay. And so
it doesn't feel like it though. Again, because of that change, it was such big. Like it was a career change.
Right.
So it was almost like I started a whole new everything when I moved up here. In a way, like going against everything I said, how everything helped me.
Right.
But like mentally, it does make it feel like
like
two distinct jobs. Yeah, which is really interesting.
Yeah. I mean that's probably good if you can like maintain that sort of like refreshed feeling without needing to actually like
set up a new
start
laptop
over
and learn the one time one shit.
Like
the
having,
annoying shit. Yeah.
Having that sense of like
whimsy,
it feels new again. That rekindling of the professional spirit.
Yeah, no, it's great. I think that was a really like I didn't think about that as much, and now I do after. Because I've been in QA now for a year, just about. Yeah, so it's like thinking about that now. I'm like, wow, that's a nice like side effect that I didn't really think about.
Yeah, I mean there was a point. Maybe I don't know, 3 probably before I started here. I was definitely wondering, like, is this really something I want to keep doing? But I think a lot of that was just not being in the right environment.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had worked in games for I don't know 6 years or so, and then on and off I went from like games to web testing, back to games, and then from there went to mobile testing, and then DVR box testing.
TiVo? I love TiVo.
Well, not TiVo, but
I had a TiVo.
a competitor.
Well, TiVo was the best.
Well,
it was.
It had a lot better features.
It did. It was such a good product. And then I remember Comcast came out with their DVR, and everyone had one. I'm like, this thing sucks.
Yeah.
And it ruined it because TiVo was ahead of its time.
Yeah, I worked for Eris, and they had the Moxie DVR box.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And so all of those well, I mean, technically, I think WB was like the best games experience I had, and it was just a great environment. They were setting up people for success. They were, I mean, very similar to here. They were like happy if you found a new job, like that they wanted you to do better.
I think they realize, like here, a lot of people have done some of their career and come back. Like, it's good for people to do things and leave on a good note and be like, oh, I'm going to go back there and contribute more. Like, company gets that, it's a good thing.
Yeah. So a question that I've asked some other people is, what do you do to recharge? Like, is there some sort of creative outlet you have that kind of gets you back into your...
I do, and I've been lazy with it lately. So when I was at Groupon, I really got more into it. I have a friend, Rich, who I've known since 6th grade. And we always just, like, recorded videos and stuff, and then we're like, let's do this now. Like, and he got really into it. Like, he's a professional photographer now. He records weddings. He's amazing at it. So he's got all this good equipment. And we're like, let's start a YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. So we were doing that, and it just always felt so good, especially because I was so stressed when I was working there.
Yeah.
And then we kept doing it, and we got a ton of videos on there. We did it for a long time. And God, we haven't done anything on there in probably about a year. And a lot of that was, I was just kind of technically busier starting here, but I think a lot of it is like I haven't had that craving for that outlet because I've just been pretty like not stressed, feeling good, which is awesome. So I don't have that like super burning itch, which I'll get sometimes, but it's been kind of there, and we wrote some scripts. So we'll probably be firing it back up. But yeah, I definitely notice like the more kind of stress I get or need like to escape what's going on during like work life or whatever, or something else in life. Yeah, having a creative outlet is huge, and it's always fairly recently. Mostly been like recording stuff for YouTube. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, I have very much that same feeling. There at some of my other roles, I felt like I was missing something.
Right.
Like
yeah.
I needed to like. It just felt like I needed to like make something,
mm-hmm.
even though I have like no tools or experience doing it. Like I just want to like build something or like just put some stuff together. Like I feel like there was like a part of me that just needed to create something.
Yeah. And I've always had that in smaller scale. I guess I just say that because that's the first time we kind of were like, let's do this for like real more.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely a cool thing, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I still have that feeling on and off occasionally, but normally it is around a period of time where I'm just like not, I guess maybe not being engaged enough, like not having that space being occupied by something.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now I'm occupied with playing D&D or running games, and then doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, both.
Yeah, I mean, this is a creative outlet, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like 2 in the last 2 years, like, and then I also play Magic: The Gathering, so like having that, and I don't even really play that much. Like I built a cube, which is a very specific thing, and I just like mess around with that a lot, and it's almost like a creative thing that I do, mm-hmm. just like building that and having fun with that, and it's pretty much solitaire at that point. I'm not really, but it's like that's another kind of outlet I have is mostly like tinkering with stuff with that, or like I built a MAME thing.
Arcade.
Yeah, like a big old arcade thing, and that was like just a lot of tinkering with the emulators and everything, getting that up and running. So I always like different projects like that I like to have to work on. Yeah.
And
I was working on I haven't had time for this, and it got pretty intense on how much changes they were making, but like an open source project that had to do with Magic with Cube.
Oh yeah.
There's a website somebody was making, and I kind of helped get some QA going on their end, and it allowed me to like set up a new project. I'd never really done that outside of Sprout on my own, and get it up and running, push up some code, just a couple small bug fixes. So that's been really cool. I haven't really done much with it lately, but just like seeing how that works and how it grows and being able to work on something different. My knowledge is very siloed to what I do here specifically. So that's a lot of fun and really cool. And probably soon I'll hop back in. They were doing a lot of pretty major code changes where I was like, this is a bit beyond me. Let you guys change over to React and all that, and then I'll hop back in and see what's up. Yeah, having something like that is really cool. That like also builds off my work knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like there's a particular not skill, but I don't know, when you started working in QA, like, was there something about it that just like felt, I don't know, not it sounds cheesy, but like that just felt right, like you started doing it and it just felt like,
yeah, like finally, like I think on support a little bit you do feel helpless because you're just finding everything wrong and you like have these ideas and you're like, I don't know what's going to listen to me. So finally having a seat at that table and having a voice when you've been listening to exactly what customers say all the time, that felt super right. And then yeah, finally like legitimately pushing up code in a production environment felt really cool and right. I guess this is one thing I didn't talk about, the move from a support role and having done support at other places and like stuff along those lines and throughout my career, you get really good at communication too, which is super beneficial come time for like QA because you just, and not even just writing, I'm not a great writer, but just knowing how to talk and deal with people.
Yeah.
Like trying to get a new process across or trying to convince someone that this is an issue or this is a risk, knowing how to approach that and communicate with people and listen to them is like a huge thing that is really hard to teach, and I've been lucky enough to have been taught that and a lot of time to kind of hone that, which I think can definitely be missing from a lot of like people who are really just engineers. Communication could be rough.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that also just kind of felt right in that regard. Like, oh yeah, I can navigate this.
Yeah.
You know what didn't feel right though? I think you have an idea. The QA smell.
But it's a welcoming smell.
Well, it isn't.
Well, I mean, like it wraps you up and like
some sort of cumin smell.
Submerges you.
Sage. It's very bizarre.
All right. Well, thanks for having this conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Talk again, maybe, if you're up for it.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how I feel.
We'll see the ratings on this one.
Yeah. I demand a certain threshold of likes. Check out. Let me plug. I need plugs. Can I do a plug?
If you want to plug.
YouTube channel Haj Gulashi. Check it out. That's the way to sell it. Yeah, that's my channel. Haj Gulashi. It's a mixture of hodgepodge and goulash because we just do whatever we want. Bunch of different shows on there, including a sitcom.
How many episodes?
6. We might do 6 more.
I think.
You want to know the premise? Last
I've
thing before I
seen
go. Over here. I probably posted it. It's where the two guys both bought the same house in a banking mistake, and they have to live together.
I don't know if I've watched the full.
Oh, they're only 3 minutes.
I think I've watched the first one. I know somebody posted it somewhere.
It was probably me in one of the rooms.
Yeah, it was a while ago. That was like 2 years ago or something.
We had a discussion. I haven't made a video in a year.